meet them. I just haven't figured out how to do that.
I'm one of them.
Hi, I'm Wendy.
Here, I'll put, you can see what there.
Hey, nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you. I'm in Studio D1.
So well, I'm just around the corner from you.
So. Yeah, that's why I'm thinking you should really come by and come on an open Saturday. You know,
yeah.
see our studios. So it's kind of fun.
That would be funny because you guys are working in your studios on Saturdays.
Generally, the first Saturday of every month, where most of the people are in their studios. I mean, I'm not going to be there this month because I'm going to be away. But generally, the first Saturdays we're open to the public.
Well, it's great that you two have made that connection, and
let's move on.
Yep. We'll get to know each other moving forward. Yeah. Is there any other new member that wants to volunteer to make an introduction? You're going to have to unmute yourself or wave your hands or something. I see new names that I don't recognize, but sometimes they're on other people's computers. So,
Orna, are you? Did you want to say anything? Orna?
She's making dinner, perhaps. She warned us that she was going to be making dinner.
Hi, yes, I'm making dinner. Sorry. Well, I'm still a student. I'm very, very still young in the pottery field. I'm still a student, both of Nadia's as of January, but I'm taking pottery at Moorpark College, and I'm doing second semester of where I've done 3 semesters, but I'm taking second semester in glaze design. And we just started, so I'm very fascinated about all the part of glazes. The reason I actually joined the Ventura County Pottery Guild is because I wanted to reconnect, or not reconnect, but connect with people from Ventura and other potters and get inspired and learn, because there's so much to learn. I live in Simi. I have 1 daughter, and I think that's it.
Well, welcome, Orna. It's
Thank you.
Nice to meet you, and you've come to the right place. So yeah. Anybody else that's new that wants to give a shout out before we move on? Okay. So I should introduce myself. My name's Stacy Rao, and I'm the new president of the Potters Guild. And we have quite a few announcements to go through. I'm going to save mine for last. And I'm going to ask Jennifer Robles to talk about a new program that she's working on. And also, I don't know if she has any of her program participants here today or not. Go ahead, Jennifer.
Okay, thank you, Stacy. I'm looking on the screen and I don't see any of the teachers signed in yet, but I'll keep my eye out. So I'm Jennifer Robles. I'm a Guild member and really excited about a pilot project that the Guild board approved for us to pursue, where we are outreaching to our middle and high school ceramics teachers. And we're starting as a pilot with Ventura Unified. And we also have teachers identified from Thousand Oaks, Moorpark, and Ojai. I've had the really wonderful opportunity this month to meet the teachers. I've made appointments. I'm going to the classrooms and meeting with the teachers and learning about their ceramics programs. Each one is very different from the other. So I'm doing this so that when we begin to recruit mentor artists from our group, we can really match up our interests and skills and expertise with the settings where the teachers are working. I want to say that they are very eager to work with us, and at least one has already become a member, and I think they'll all join, as one of the options that the Guild has offered is free membership for the first year, and hopefully it'll be something that becomes a routine even after the pilot. Let's see, some of the things that people are asking for as I meet with them are the needs that we might be assisting with. one teacher has never fired the kiln in her high school classroom before. So in fact, I've got someone already lined up who's Gail Bentley Swanson said she would help the Ventura High teacher with that first kiln firing. But other teachers are asking for demo lessons. They mentioned things like sgraffito and glazing. They are open to guest speakers. Any of us who has something to share, a product or a project, they're open to that. Some are looking for lesson planning ideas to have sort of a through line in their ceramics instruction. There's even a couple that air dry clay might be an option or a way they're going to be going to get started. And not all, but some are looking for hands-on help during limited periods of time when they do projects. These most of the teachers I'm talking to have classes of 36 students at a time. I've even heard the number 42. So I can imagine a little hands-on help once in a while might be fun for us and helpful to them. So next step is I wanted to meet the teachers before putting out team service announcements. So I had a better idea of their schedules and their needs. And I think I'm getting there. And my goal is to post the team service announcements within a week so that we can match up our guild members with the teachers. I'm just looking here to make sure I haven't left anything out. I already have a few names of people who said they'd like to be on this team, and I'm really just so excited to work together with guild members to bring our expertise into classrooms where teachers are going to benefit themselves, but also inspire the students that they work with. So thank you. I really appreciate the opportunity to be a part of this with our guild, and I hope that a lot of our members will find a spot, maybe a one-day presentation or maybe a longer relationship with one of our teachers. So thank you, Stacy. That's my update for today.
Does anybody have any quick questions for Jennifer? I just want to
Great
say,
job.
yes, and I'm really excited about this. And one of our goals is to grow our membership from that cadre of younger students and teachers. And so I think that this is a great way to make some of those long-term relationships. And I'm really excited about it. Nadia, did you have something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, what high schools are you working with?
The high schools right now are Buena and Ventura and Pacific in Ventura. I haven't met the gentleman from Thousand Oaks High School or Moore Park, but they're on my schedule. And Nordhoff, I have a name, but I have to make that contact. So that's my one last person to connect with. So as a pilot, we decided to start small and not to try to do everything at once. I think the model is going to be effective. My vision is that we would pull it out, make it happen over the course of the year and get these pilot teachers up to speed and have them become members. They'll be able to speak and advocate for themselves as members in the guild, and then we can move to another group of schools and teachers. I think it's going to work that way.
So are you looking for like instructions and helping, or just helping out in the classroom? Because I understand what high school looks like, because I used to work there in a high school here in Royal High School in Simi. And I would go to the ceramics room, and 42 people is norm. And it can be very hectic. And I worked with special ed kids. So I was curious as to how exactly you were presenting us as helpers. Are we in the room helping the kids or with projects, or are we actually giving them a project, or how is that being presented?
Basically, it looks to me like the teachers have plans for their projects, but like two of the teachers said they could use some help, advice on how to manage the materials and the groupings. Some of them inherit a classroom filled with glazes and tools and, slab rollers, everything. One teacher has a 3D clay printer in her classroom that she hasn't taken out of the box. They have stuff, and some of them just don't even know how to use it yet. So if a teacher with experience would be a partner, not so much as in the classroom on a daily basis, but helping that teacher after school to think through and to walk through their classroom and do some planning. So that kind of mentor, that's what I'm going to describe after I've met them. I didn't realize exactly how this was going to go. The teacher at Cabrillo did say when she has her project, she could use some hands-on help because like you said, she's got a mixed class with kids of all different needs and abilities, and she wants everyone to be successful, but they have some ideas, for how that might be accomplished. Thank you for that question. And Wendy, I'm really glad to meet you. I won't take too much time right now, but as an assistant principal with some ceramics help, I think, or background, I think this might be of interest to you too. And, as we roll this out, I think you'll enjoy being a part of it.
That's 2 connections for Wendy in
Awesome.
15
Thank you.
minutes.
Yeah, I have some names for you, Dr. Robles, too. So
Who's that?
there's well, when you expand, Brittany,
You'll send it to me.
I'll
Okay,
send it to you. Yeah.
perfect. Thank you. Okay, so watch for our announcement. Stacy said she'd help me put out an announcement that the team service thing is there. And if you want to reach out to me earlier, send me an email or a text, but we'll get this rolling in February is when we're going to really be hands on deck.
Yay. All
Yeah.
right. I'm going to now ask Jeannie to talk about Beatrice Wood Center for the Arts.
Yes, our annual show is coming up. It'll be this September 28th through November 16th this year. And we changed the topic because nobody was very excited about industrial ideas. So it's going to be non-traditional teapots. So let your imagination soar to create some really unique things. And you will be able to enter up to 1 to 3 pieces. The cost is just $20. And the entry deadline will be September 1st, but we'll be getting the applications into the website and the newsletters as time comes closer to that. But get your mind and ideas circulating and see what you can come up with. That's it.
Any questions for Jeannie?
Oh, it's also open to all members of the guild.
That's right. You don't have to be a plus member to participate in this.
For all levels.
Or juried.
Or
Or
juried.
juried.
No, you don't have to be juried. But it's
Excellent.
fun. It's always fun to see all the creations that come up. So
And there's always a get together the first day, the opening of the show, and it's always a lot of fun. And it's usually really well attended. I'm gonna ask Wynn to talk a little bit about the jury process.
Okay. We revamped the jury process over about the last 6 months, and its first run is this upcoming jury. And so one has taken us a little longer to get everything together than we originally thought, but here's where we stand time-wise. The application form and the documents that you need in order to fill out the application, submit the application, they're going to be on the website no later than next Monday, the 29th. So they may show up during the week. We're pretty close to everything being ready. And then the first jurying or the first critique will be February 26th. That's the last Monday in February. And then the second opportunity, the second critique is March 25th, the last Monday in March. So just real briefly, one of the main things that's changed is jurying is no longer a 2-step process. There are 2 opportunities to be juried. So if you pass the first one, you're done. And if you don't pass the first one, we offer some support, and you'll have a second opportunity that we hope you'll take advantage of. And there's then a second critique that'll either you'll pass or not, and there are things to manage after that. But the dates is the 29th at the latest for application, the 26th for the first critique of February, the 25th of March for the second critique.
All right. Does anybody else have any announcements they want to make? Go ahead, Rebecca. Yeah, go ahead.
We have a happy hour coming up February 8th, which is a Monday. We have it at the Margarita Villa, which is across the way from the gallery at the Ventura Harbor. And the information's on the website. We're from 5 to 7, and we usually sit outside. And if you can't find us, just look for a big group or ask one of the servers. But we hope people come to that. And then the second notice is,
Rebecca,
oh yeah,
Rebecca, it's the February 12th, not February 8th. February 8th
thank
was
you, thank you, thank
was
you.
the
Yes.
first day.
Yeah, no, I'm a little blotto here. Yes, we had it at the 8th, but that's the same date as a guild meet or a gallery meeting. So we tend to lose people when they're doing too many things at once. So it'll be February 12th, which is a Monday. I was right on that. And it's still at Margaritaville, and it's still 5 to 7. And we still hope you come. And then the second thing is that I've been replaced on the gallery committee by Gail Swanson. Thank you, Gail. I'm moving on to be the board secretary. So 2 jobs, seems like a lot. But anyway, I wanted to just let you know that Gail is the new ombudsman or member at large. And we kind of are trying to figure out what are the main tasks. And it really kind of falls on members, because the idea is that if you want to talk to somebody about your grievances, complaints, ideas, either positive or negative, you have somebody to talk to that can help you think about your ideas, think about how you want it presented, or maybe you just want some feedback. Maybe you don't want to, always be bugging Stacy or Sue about various issues, but the ombudsman is kind of a first step for talking about issues that you might have.
Issues with the gallery.
Issues, yes, this is just gallery.
You still can bug me about other stuff.
You bug Stacy about the guild.
Maybe we need an ombudsman there. Okay, anybody, last call for announcements before I go ahead with mine. Okay, all right, so membership. Everybody's, I think, been working really hard on renewing their membership and filling out the survey. But I wanted to remind people, particularly people that are juried, that maybe haven't renewed their membership, that if you don't renew your membership at whatever level by February 28th, your membership is considered to have lapsed, and you will need to re-jury. That is a policy and a process that the Guild has in place for at least a decade or more. So if you're juried and you want to keep your jury status, because who wouldn't, just make sure you get that membership renewed by the 28th of February. But sooner is better than later, as always. And the survey information is really important to us, even if you are just registering as a regular member, because we're here to serve all of you and we want to know what all of you think. We haven't really looked through the survey in any big detail yet, because the data is still coming in, but anecdotally and just sort of cruising through some initial results, a lot of people have expressed that they really want more opportunities for face-to-face meetings. And in particular, that they'd like these Zoom meetings to be face-to-face, these program meetings on the 4th Monday. Now, I've also had a lot of people tell me that they don't like having the having the Monday night meetings in person, because they don't want to drive to wherever and it's dark and the parking's bad. Plus, I really have to say and commend the program team led by Foz for taking advantage of the fact that we're now on Zoom. And we've had presenters that are not just from across the country, but internationally. And obviously that's not something we'd be able to accomplish in person. So while we think that some of the program meetings on the Monday nights might be in person this year, what we're really trying to focus on is creating alternative ways to get together in person and hang out and have fun. And so there's creating more opportunities to do that. is one of our big goals for the year. So I just want to give you a heads up and to tell you to mark your calendars for some of the dates that are coming up for some in-person get-togethers. Okay, first, Rebecca mentioned about the happy hour. That's open to all guild members, not just gallery members. I want to reiterate that. And it's a lot of
And
fun.
friends and spouses.
You know, bring the dog. I think it would, I don't know, but it's a lot of fun. It's a lot of fun, and the tacos are pretty good. That's what I have to say. Okay, and many of us are going to be spending a whole day together, either February 17th or the 18th, at the upcoming CJ Gillick workshop. So that's really exciting, and that's going to be a great time to spend with your folks, with other folks in the guild. We have a day already reserved for our pit fire. Last year we had a pit fire over the summer, but it's not just a pit fire, it's a pit fire and a potluck. And that's going to be May 19th, which is a Sunday, and it's not Mother's Day. And it's going to be at Arroyo Verde Park. There's going to be some face-to-face events leading up to the pit fire. Thank you, Jeannie. And it's also a potluck. So even if pit firing's not your thing and you don't have a pot to bring to put in the fire, bring a dish, a covered dish, and hang out with all of us. I wasn't there last year. I'm very excited to be there this year. And as far as I've heard, it was a good time that everybody had. And last but not least, I want to tell you that the dates for the Ojai show are June 8th and 9th. And again, this year it's going to be in conjunction with the music festival. You'll hear more details about the pit fire and the Ojai show as we get closer to the dates. But these are all places where it's just, even if you're not selling, it's fun to come, get together, see everybody's work. You can also do team service. Team service is a great way to get to know other members and to hang out and to help us get these things done, because all of these face-to-face interactions take work. So soon you're going to be able to sign up for team service for the pit fire, and you'll be able to sign up for team service for some of these other face-to-face get-togethers. Because if we don't have enough help to do these face-to-face get-togethers, we're just going to have to, limit the number that we can do. It's just that simple. The other thing, though, I want to say is we're also working on another get-together this half of the year. It's still not nailed down, so I don't like, as you can tell, I don't like giving out information until I'm sure that it's solid. But keep your fingers crossed that we're going to also work out another opportunity for us to get together in the next couple of months. And then the last thing I have to say is about the clay order. People were talking about that a little bit at the gathering time. It's happening. There's still a little bit of confusion about the aardvark order. The Laguna art order's not there yet, and the final bills haven't been processed by Sean yet, but it's happening, and it's going to be coming soon. And we're going to wait to hear from Sean about the final details about when and where to pick up our clay, how much we owe, and what the specific details that specific discounts that the vendors have provided for us. So with that, I'm going to stop. Does anybody have any questions or last call for any kind of announcement? Nadia.
I want to ask about the clay orders. Are we relinquishing all of responsibility for that and giving it to Sean to take care of it?
This is a pilot, and we're going to see how it goes. And if he can handle that and get us a better deal than we're getting on our own, then we can redirect some of the people on the clay team to fill some of our other needed tasks that we have to fill. Any questions? I'm going to turn over to Foz for the program.
All right. Well, welcome everybody. It's so nice to see so many people here. Tonight's program is going to be going back to basics for some of you, and maybe for others, it's going to be pushing you to think about how you approach your work and how you finish your work. The theme is design is in the details, and the program is going to focus on feet. Because we have both hand builders and throwers in the group, Vera McGuire is going to do a short, quick tip for you on how you might approach feet on a hand-built item. And then Wynn's going to spend some time talking a little bit more about the anatomy of a pot and the role that a foot plays on a pot. He's going to give us, he's going to do a little throwing for us and a little trimming. And I do want to clarify for you that when you see his wheel spinning very quickly, it's because I sped that section of the video up. Because Wynn is very deliberate about what he does, and he has a very low speed when he's working. All right, so please, you'll see a couple places where you're going, oh, that's not normal. Well, you'll see the difference. So please don't think, Wynn, why are you speeding the wheel up so much? All right, so with that said, I'm going to share my screen and launch this video for you. And then both Vera and Wynn will be here to address any questions that you have once it's finished. Can you guys see this screen?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
This and go.
Hi, I'm Vera McGuire. I'm a potter from the Netherlands. I've been in the pottery business for 25 years. I moved 10 years ago to Ventura and been a guild member since then. Been on the board and I've met a lot of nice people. And I'm honored again to do this little video for you guys. The topic is feet under a pot, throne, or hand building. I like to hand build, so I'm going to show you how to make little feet on a hand building pot. I'm a very lazy person, and I want to make a lot of pots in a day. Don't want to measure the feet every time, so I make myself a little mold from plaster with 4 different sizes of feet. So I can make them all ahead of time, and then when my pots are ready, I can just put all those feet up in one time. If you don't know how to make a plastering, we come back to that later. Easier way is also make feet. You just take a bucket of clay, push it in, and bisque fire it. So you have a mold. And you can, of course, you can do different sizes, whatever your desire is. So, you know, easy peasy, right? Okay, let me show you how to put a little bit the feet under a round pot. So you got your little pot, make it wet. You got your little feet, and just like you screw it on a little bit so they really stuck together. And then you work around it with your brush, with your tool. And there, for little feet. So you can go to my website, duchessceramics.com. I give every month a workshop. And if there's an interest in making a plaster workshop, just email me and we can see if we can get 4 or 5 people together. And I will show you how to make plaster workshop. What the nice part about the plaster is, it is easier to dry out with the clay and to take it out. Easier than this. That's up to you. Well, thank you very much. Good luck. And if you have any questions, just email me. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Wynn Matthews, and we've been working with clay for over 50 years. Been been many different things in play, which we're not going to talk about here today. We're going to talk about and had a workshop a couple of times called Rims and Feet, because I think that the two most important things in a pot are the rims and feet. Kicking it away with, I'm going to say an okay, like a nice shape, an okay shape of a pot, and it has a really good foot and a really good rim. It changes character completely and makes it stronger. And today we're going to talk about feet. So the foot can be everything from, well, let me say that a different way. The foot is what the pot sits on, where it contacts the earth, the table. It's where how it sits by itself and doesn't roll off onto the floor or fall over. And foot as an integral part of the piece, and not just I have to get rid of this extra clay somehow so that I'm done with this pot and moving on to the next pot. It's a little bit of a paradigm shift, as you'll see as we go through this and talk about some of my pieces. I've got a half a dozen pretty standard feet, but I do variations on them. Occasionally I run into a pot where I do something completely different because it's obvious that things I tend to lean on aren't going to work. And the point of the foot is to have the pot feel like it's lifted, like it's got some buoyancy, but it's not. As I'm saying that, my mind is going back to old Tombo pots and Shigaraki pots and some Appalachian pots, that part of their power is that they don't have elegant feet and they just go and sit there like a monument. So, but I'm not going to talk about that much. So when I'm making a pot, one of the things I have to think about is what kind of foot's it going to have. And in my normal, in a production where my functional pots tend to not have high feet because they're going to be used for food or for plants, or they're something that you sit on. So the range of the thickness in those feet is probably a quarter of an inch to maybe an inch. And then if I'm doing other things, because I'm doing more one of a kind, taller bowls or something, and I want it on a taller foot, I've got to know that as I'm centering the clay and hoping the clay working. If I want it to be sitting on a 2-inch foot, I've got to plan for that as I'm making the pot. So what are you going to do with your foot? What are you going to do with your pot? What are you going to do with the foot on the pot? Is an integral part of the conditions that you're setting up while you're making your pot. So as I was saying about the foot and the rim being important parts of the pot, I want to talk about a couple pots here. So this pot, right? So when I made this pot, so let me back to this little sidebar, but it's important. I'm not a drawer. I'm not a person that sketches out things and then makes them. I figure out what I'm making while I'm making it. So I know at the beginning I'm making a vase. I know it's going to be taller because I set the conditions up with the size and height of the centerpiece of clay. I'm setting up the conditions for the foot, the depth of the foot, by leaving probably 3/4 of an inch of clay at the bottom as I'm making it. I've discovered what the belly is and the shoulder and the rim while I'm making it. I don't plan this. I'm sitting there, and as I'm working with the clay, feeling my way into what's the clay showing me. I'm getting feedback from the clay while I'm doing this in terms of, is it going to be wider? Is it taller here? I'm getting messages while I'm working. I don't work how to tell you where to dial the radio to get that, but that's what's happening. And then what kind of rim is going to be on it? I'm figuring that out while I'm doing it too. I'm throwing, and I've got this now here. What kind of rim is going to complement this form that's been discovered? I'm discovering now. And I may spend 10 minutes playing with the rim in some pots. little change here, a little change there. Is seeing, does it fit with the form that it's on top of? And then later when I'm trimming, and I don't need much clay to trim. I taught myself about 5 years into making pots to throw so that I did have very little clay to trim. It's another story how that came about. But so I might have had at the most a ½ inch of clay down here to trim off of this foot. And I got the pot here, this kind of lifted foot that goes up a little bit and then out. See the same thing on this bowl. This bowl's about 30 years old. That's one of my standard feet. It's a simple foot, gives the pot, whether it's a bowl or a mug or a vase, gives it some lift off of the table. So this too, I'm discovering it while I'm doing it. How thick is this going to be? How deep? I'll show you later how I logistically or strategically how do I approach trimming the foot. But at the end, I'm looking for a piece that all the parts fit together. Nothing looks like it's stuck on. Nothing looks like it's too big. It's too skinny. Nothing's too fat. It should all look right. And for me, I actually have a physical experience of when something comes into balance, my body feels it. Not conceptual, it's a visceral. Oh, we're done. And then feet. So this is like a 35-year-old pot. This was a period of my career when I fired the Cone-10 in oxidation. This is an oxidized pot. Cone-10 porcelain oxidized. It does not have a tooled foot, but it's got a finished foot. It's flat, smooth, the edge is rounded, everything feels good. I mean, that's just in general, pots. They should feel good. They're not for looking at. If they're functional, they're for holding. And the whole thing should feel good in your hands. Okay, so I showed you this bowl earlier, but just to start here, if I have a default foot, this is my default foot. Now, I'm not going to name names, but there's a well-known potter who used to live in town who's about my age, 70 years. He makes beautiful pots. He puts the same foot on every pot, literally every pot. And now, in the grand scheme of things, is there anything wrong with that? No. But it makes me, when I'm looking and holding the pots, it's boring, and there's so much more available. And it's like if you spend all this time creatively on this part of the thing, of the your work, and then you put the same thing on every single pot, to me something's good. So anyway, here we are. So this is my default foot. This is one of my favorite pots I've ever made. You can see it's broken and it's in the middle of repair. It's been broken actually 3 times. It's its 3rd repair. This is Cone-10 oxidation. The iron slip on the clay. And this foot, I don't know how you would call that. It's just a rounded foot, but it's not rounded. It's flat here a little bit and rounded in there. The top and the bottom are symmetrical, and it's not quite straight, but it's not like a curve. And something about this pot, when it came out of the kiln, I loved it. I've been using it to drink tea out of. I'm done with the repair. I'll do that again for 35, 40 years. And still one of my favorite pots in terms of how it feels in the hand. and how it all works together. This is a bowl. I call these petal bowls. The edges are cut and overlap to make kind of flower petal form. This foot, I don't have another sample here. I'll show you in more detail what this looks like when I'm trimming. But this foot is not the same. I know the default foot thing is actually a little ridge here where the pot is cut in, and then the foot's up there. And when it's this far, like a foot away from me, or it's sitting on the table a couple feet away from me, I can tell that there's a difference. That this is just not a smooth line. There's a subtle little accent around here that plays off the ring. I like. Again, this is most of my work's porcelain, some like stoneware. This I think is Russian River. But still, even though it's a rough clay, it should all feel good in your hands. This is a cone 6 oxidation pot. Officially working cone 6, but the place that I teach fires in cone 6, so I fire some things there occasionally. People, this foot. So when this was thrown, this was all curved in here, so this angle here is following the bottom of the pot. And this foot, it looks like it's like sitting on top of a straight foot, but if you look at the foot really in the profile really closely, it's not straight. It's very slightly curved. It's got a very subtle bead at the bottom, which when you're looking at the pot from a distance on a table, it's got just a little bit softer feel than if the foot is rigidly straight. Another little T-ball, another cone 6. And this is another pot that I love how it feels in the hand. This is heavy. I think anyone I hand it to would think it's heavy. And it feels just right. And I use this with tea and other things. It's another pot that I love how it feels in the hand. This too has similar foot to this. The curve here goes in and then out, and the foot kind of you'll see later on the pot. Anyway, this is now it's all filled up with the glaze that flowed here. There's another little bowl, little tea ball. This is one of my non-standard feet. So this was trimmed. You see the tools that I have. So I have a tool that lets me do this little sharp indent if I want to, when I want to do that. And the foot ring was done, and something about it just wasn't right yet. Didn't look right, didn't feel right. And then I was holding the pot, looking at it, it's like it's actually not round. So I made the foot not round, but just 4 sides, just flattened it a tiny bit in alignment with the top, and then that physical clunk. Okay, that's it. This is a mug. This is a foot. This is the specific foot style I won from Frank Mozzarella. He calls it a Carolina foot. I have no idea why, where that came from, but it's got a little bead on it at the bottom of the foot, and it's got a ridge, like an indent, a ring all the way around inside. It's indented. And that's a flat bottom. My legs sometimes too long, sometimes don't. This is another on 6. pot of mine. This is a pot too that I loved in my hands. Gave this a deposit at some point in the last year, I think. Yeah, feels good. Again, the foot ring has been squished in 4 sides. Seem to fit me better with this. Maybe it's this, you know, ring around here. Also not glazed down here. So this little collection, these are pots that Boz brought. Some of them she got on our trip to Japan recently. And I guess all of them on our trip to Japan recently. So let's start with the big one here. So this is wood fired, looks like a wood fired chino. And one of the cool things is the lid. We're not talking, that's not a foot thing, but it's a cool thing. It's got this cork glued in the middle of the lid that fits the hole in the pot to seal it. That's awesome. So this foot is, this is kind of traditional Japanese foot, this kind of just flared, straight, flared foot. And it's got holes in it. Got holes through it. Which is awesome. And this foot has a sharper, quote unquote, sharper edge than I normally leave on feet, but on this piece it's really fits. Hitting the table here, not being rounded on that form. Yeah, so this is for those of us who think you need to make bigger pots to make really awesome pots. And this is incredible piece. And the most incredible thing is it's porcelain, which you don't know until you turn it over and look at the foot. So if you could see how this is carved. This to me reminds me of bronze, like the Bronze Age pieces. Seems like the whole thing is very influenced by Bronze Age patterns on the vessel. This kind of sculpted part of feet. But that's just extraordinary. If you saw just a photograph of that by itself, you would have no idea whether it was this 2-inch piece or whether it was 2 feet tall. And little tiny hints on a couple of the places. Looks like these are slip trailed. A couple places where the slip is a little thicker, where you can almost tell that it's porcelain. It's kind of whitish, right? Great spot. This is thrown and then it's been cut into an oval. And it's got an interesting, but how the whole pot is this curve that comes all the way up to the foot and foot ring. I personally almost never make foot rings that skinny because they tend to break and chip. But I said personal preference doesn't make this one wrong. Nice. Now this is another way of approaching all of this. So this is the pot was thrown, obviously, whether it's a cheese cutter or wire of some kind has cut the clay away. This has been cut out by hand. Probably didn't use wire to do that, but some kind of tools, just chop, 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 slip, slip. I do this inside of lids at some certain kinds of lids at some time. Never thought of doing it on the bottom like this. Very cool. Yes. What is this called? Narrowcombing. So this little handmade bowl, really light, really thin, has a foot that was made out of a little skinny slab of the same uniformly pattern and attached to the bottom. The detail. Makes it. All right, so there's a tour of some feet. Okay, so I mentioned when we were, well, I mentioned earlier that one of the reasons I don't have a lot of clay to trim on my pots is I re-taught myself how to throw when I was about, I don't know, about a 4 or 5 year potter, because I discovered it took me as long to tool as it did to throw. That's funny for me to say in the context of how long I spent trimming a couple of those pots. That's very atypical. So I'm going to show you like how I throw a bowl, which was the first thing that I figured out how to save a whole bunch of time on. I've actually seen a couple of other people who throw bowls this way. One of them was someone I ran across on doing a live stream on YouTube. And then didn't write his name down, didn't follow, whatever, so I have no idea who it was. So my thumb down here is really not doing anything on the clay, it's just touching the back. It gives me a reference point as my fingers going down for how thick the bottom is. It's not super accurate, but it gives me an approximation of where I am. So what I discovered is if I bring the rim out to where I want the rim to be before I make the bowl shape, I save lots of trimming time. So the problem with doing the bowl part out first, before you really bringing the rim out, you get stuck at a certain point where you can't push the rim out farther unless there's clay supporting the pot down here. So I discovered here is if I made a trumpet bell, so about a third of the way up, I start going out. And I get the rim out where I want it. And then connect the dots, kind of make it kind of a straight-sided bowl. Make the bowl shape. trying to be the shape of the rim. This little ridge, the bowl shape. So by learning to throw that way, there's very little clay left down here to trim. All right, so here I am with the pot, a low bowl. And first thing I do is look and feel at the pot. And how far out does the bottom come before it really starts to curve up? So somewhere in that area is where I want the foot to be. I don't want the foot to be way in here, the little skinny foot. I want it to be supportive. So yeah, I made a mark here earlier. So it's about there. But I'm going to trim off here to start with. And then I want to know how thick the bottom is. And I do that with the needle. Push the needle through until it touches my finger. Get out. So this is, I don't have a lot of play here to tool. So this is like 3/8. So I'll still tool a foot, but it will be a shallow one. This is like a borderline case of, I could leave this as a flat bottom instead of a foot, but I will trim, I'll tool it. This hole from the needle, I just push the clay down and in from the sides. Seems to close it up. I've never had an issue with holes. First thing I have to do here, center the pot. I'm a tapper. I recommend if you're a thrower that you learn to tap. It's so much faster than any version of mark the clay, find it, push it. If your pots are really concentric, one thing that works is when it's close is to use a sponge and make that wet circle and then center it in that circle and then make the circle smaller. If your pots or bottoms and rims are really concentric, that works pretty well. I'm centering the bottom, not the rim. The bottom is what I'm trimming. I don't use pads. I've done that in years. I occasionally move the pot, but saves me time and clay. All right, so the first things I do here is I'm checking the bottom. From trimming it, it's a little bit rough, a little bit uneven out here at the edge. So first thing I do is make sure the bottom is flat. If it's way off, I'll show you on the sides what I would do. But if it's way off, I don't use the wide flat part of a tool. I use a small point. This clay's soft enough and that's not off enough, but sometimes you may wind up with the foot if you're picking up and moving things, or when you throw, your skill level is they're not very concentric, all the time. You want to use something smaller because you can hold something that's small still while the clay is wobbling. So you can true something up by using a small loop, point, whatever. So I didn't need to do that here on this pot. It wasn't off enough. Okay, so I've centered the pot, trued up the bottom, trued up the edge. Now I'm gonna bring the outside in to the point I think it should be, which is about here. Now this bowl, I don't have a lot of clay here, but I think I have enough clay here to do what I have in mind. This bowl has a little bit, actually does go out here at the end, but it's a little bit higher and the curve's a little bit higher and tighter than most of the bowls this size shape that I make. So I'm going to try to emphasize that with the foot. All right, so the next thing to do, use this tool sometimes for this, is I'm going to mark the inside of the foot ring. Hey there, caught the tool in the box. Let's start from the middle. I normally do that with the spicing tool, but I'm going to do it with this because I can do it with my hands out of the way. For the video, I'm going to mark the middle. Like how far down can I go here? Remember it was less than a quarter of an inch. So there I am. Put my finger then in there. And I'm going to start just removing the clay in, I don't know what you would call these, channels, rings. Then I go back to smooth it out. So I rough it in and then I go back and smooth it out. I'm suspicious. This clay is a little soft. Just want to check that I hadn't pushed the inside in. I didn't, so I can come back and take that clay out. So unless you have a gripping grip, just if you're not a tapper, just think of the amount of time you would spend getting your pot centered again back to the point that you could work on it and it's centered to where it was before. I don't know if I said that exactly right, but you get what I mean. Trimmings, just a comment, a thought about trimmings. I never trim into a splash pan that's full of slip or water. If it's wet, I clean my splash pan out and dry it before I trim. I don't like the wrestling match with all the glop that gets left out that it creates. Having a bunch of water or slip in the splash pan and then putting the trimmings in there. I didn't say anything when I did this, but I just flipped the tool over. And I did it for a reason. So I was going this way and I wasn't, this sharper edge was not cutting the clay in the way I wanted to level this out. And I flipped it, which cuts the clay differently because of this bigger curve. And I ended up with exactly what I wanted. So you have to get to know your tools. Okay, now what I'm going to attempt on here. This is a little off triangle. This clay is a little soft. I don't know if you've got one of these things from, like it's from Diamond Core. But spreads out the pressure so that, you know, just a finger in the middle is the pressure is all going into the middle spot under my finger. Spreads it out so that it doesn't make a dent. A comment about my hands. So I've always got a finger in here while I'm trimming. I typically hold the tools like this. Sometimes I'll go to the pencil thing, but I typically am holding them like this so that they're being stabilized in the palm of my hand. It also lets me rotate them here. And then the thumb from my left hand is always touching the tool someplace to help stabilize it. So with this, what I'm trying to do, I'm actually going to use this more like a pencil, which is not this too. I'm going to make this a little bit thinner. This way. The foot a little bit thinner. Take a little clay out to the inside. I'm doing this at the end. A lot of my feet, most of my feet actually have this little ring around them on the outside. So a woman, she's a member of the guild. She's I was also at the clay school. Alita, I was teaching a class she was in. We were talking about trimming, and she's like, "Oh, I can always tell your feet. I pick them up and look at them. It's like you trim like you trim. I can tell they're your feet." So that's, you know, that's your challenge. Figuring out how to make feet that express you in a way that people can look at your pot and say, "Oh, I know who made that." So I said this clay's a little soft, so I use the red rib to do it. Just smooth it off a little more, burnish it. When the clay's stiffer, I use the green rib because it's stiffer. Sign it. Stamp on it. Now, look at this. So critique wise, I don't like that. I'm going to make this a little bit rounder. I don't like that point right there. Critique and one corner. I want to thank the Ventura County Potters Guild for the opportunity to share this with people, with you, and for me just I mean, even just more than this for the opportunity I've had over the last years to contribute to the guild. This is and doing this for this program is a good way for me to give back for some of what I've gotten out of my participation over the many years.
Welcome back, everybody. So I think Vera and Wynn are here if there's questions.
Wynn, what clay body were you using?
Or, well, the general porcelain I use is Babu Cone 10.
It looks very different from my porcelain. I use Laguna Cone 5 porcelain.
But it's because is yours grayer?
Yes.
Yeah. But
It just,
does it still fire white?
yes.
Yeah, so that it's got ball clay in it that's full of organic stuff.
Yours just look like a smoother clay body.
Oh. It's smooth. Yeah. I mean, some of the pots that I showed earlier were not porcelain. Some were porcelain, some were Rio Red, some were Russian River. I think there's a white stoneware in there, whether it's Hopkins or Vegas Buff Smooth. I don't remember. But
I was surprised you said the porcelain bowl you were trimming was still a little bit damp, I think you said, or wet or whatever. Boy, I'm surprised that you could press on the foot without it. I mean, on the bottom of the bowl without it.
Well,
pressing.
it wasn't sticky.
Hmm.
It was just, it's a little softer than my ideal trimming, dampness.
Sometimes when I get done, I've got to flip the pot back over and get the pot back into the inside the way I want it.
Yeah, it happens. I usually use a rib, just turn the pot over and use a rib to smooth it back out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like the way you did the bowl starting with a tulip shape.
Yeah.
I'm going to try that.
Yeah, me
Very
too.
cool.
Do you ever use clay to hold the pot down?
Not anymore. If it's something with a smaller neck, I put it in a chuck.
Right.
But I don't anchor the chuck either.
But you don't wet the wheel head either. It just
No.
stays where it is, dry.
Well, it's staying there because I'm pushing down on the middle of the pot.
Yeah. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
I mean yeah. If I wasn't pushing down in the middle of the pot for how I anchor my hands, they would tend to move around.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the little device that you used to hold the pot?
Oh, it's from Diamond Core Tools. I don't know what they call it, but I mean, they don't make that many things. It's an obvious, that little ring, and it's not only got it's got a rubber on the bottom, so it doesn't mark your pot like if it was hardened plastic.
Huh.
And it's divided into thirds and fourths and stuff. So if you want to divide your pot up into, even sections, it's got those markings on it too.
It's a single piece, or is it two pieces that rotate?
No, it's one piece.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's a clever item.
Yeah, it's cool. I mean, bottle caps work, but this is nicer. And it's not just flat. Like in the middle, there's a little dent where your finger goes. So it helps keep everything, true.
I think that whole company started with dental tools. if
Wouldn't
I'm
be
not mistaken.
surprised.
Yeah, I think the guy was originally in the dental industry.
You would know, Judy, since you used to do dental work.
Exactly. Well, a lot of the things that he uses are burrs that you use in hand
Yeah,
pieces.
that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
So I have a feeling that's how he got started.
So he was
Or
a
he-
dentist who started to make pots part-time. He says, wait a minute.
Right.
or he just sources his tools through that same channel. I mean, you can buy those burrs at Harbor Freight and
Yeah.
Amazon and
Mm.
all over the place.
Right.
The
They're
big-
not the ones that.
There it is. Jeannie's got one.
Yeah.
Let's see the other side, Jeannie. Okay.
Oh. And it doesn't slide around.
No.
Say something, Jeannie, so we can see it.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I had one here in the house, so I grabbed it real quick
Oh, what's that?
to show you. Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
Really?
so here's the deal. If somebody's saying, "Oh, gee, I want these," it's cheaper if we buy a bunch of them and ship them all. Somebody did that once at the gallery and bought little sanding things from Diamond Core and sort of took advantage of it. So rather than all of us paying shipping costs.
These are about $10 a piece.
Yeah, but you're right. The shipping would cost the same whether you bought five or you bought one.
Right.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. So,
you
we
know
might as well
what?
go together.
Let's-
and
Yeah,
use those.
let's start a list.
Yeah, it's a handy little tool.
It's a really clever, really clever.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
So if somebody starts a thing on Member Connect saying anybody that wants it, put your name on the list. And then let's figure out if we can just go ahead and buy some for the guild that way.
That's a good
Do we
idea.
want to take that on? No. Okay.
I'm tempted, but I'm leaving.
You don't have to order them tomorrow. You could collect while you're gone. Collect names while you're gone.
No, while I'm gone, I'm gone.
Yeah.
My brain is going to be in Spanish land.
Excellent.
When do you or anybody else here sharpen your tools in any way?
Oh, yeah. So that the bison tool, no, although I probably could with the diamond pad. If anyone else uses the bison tools, if you don't know, he'll resharpen them for you for $10. You just send them to him and he'll send them back. But those tools, I have like a diamond knife sharpener that's coarse and fine on two sides. And I use that to sharpen the tools.
Can you show me what it looks? Yeah, you probably.
No, I'm not in my.
Okay.
Yeah, no, because it's at home in my kitchen.
Okay.
So do you use a steel for like the steel knife sharpeners? Is that what you mean?
No, it's actually for hiking, but you could buy it probably just made for household kitchens. But it's flat, maybe an inch wide. It has a coarse diamond paper on one side and a fine diamond paper on the other side. Very similar to the Diamond Core pads. You could probably use those too, but it's hard. So I can hold it and either, like a knife sharpener, rotate the tool on it or hold the tool and just slide the diamond thing over it.
I use jeweler's files.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was interesting, Wanda. One day I was having trouble trimming and Drew came up to me and he said, "Let me see what you're doing." And he looked at my tool, which was a smaller version of what you had, and then said, "Look at the blade." And in fact, I had worn grooves on both sides. So we may think these things last forever, but when they're not cutting, they're not cutting for a reason. Either they're dull or we've lost, because you think about it, if we're trimming stoneware, it's going to have some grit in it. It's going to wear that piece of metal. So it was a lesson to me to start looking at what the blade actually looked like or the cutting edge looked like.
Yeah, I've used them just completely through until they break sometimes. But you're right, they're not very sharp that way.
Well, there's the bison tools, and there's another guy whose name I can't remember. He's Chinese. He does a lot of videos online. He's a teacher. He also sells tools. And the this hardened, I think they're titanium, aren't they? They're hardened titanium.
These are Dolan. I thought that was titanium.
No, that's hardened steel.
It's
Hardened steel.
They still
Okay.
wear, but I've had that bison tool for at least 3 years. It's still sharp. Not as sharp as when it was new, but it's sharper than a $12 or $15 tool from Kemper or Dolan is after 2 months.
Mm-hmm.
I just put a
They
link.
lost, they lost that they cost $80 or $100, but if they last for 3 years and that you haven't replaced them with all your other, $10, $15 tools. Terry, yeah.
Yeah, I put a link in the chat to these diamond files. They go from 600 grit, which is really fine, as the finest. And I think the coarse is, I don't know, 100 or 80 or something, 40. So the coarse is pretty coarser than you would probably ever really use. But they're great for all kinds of stuff. And there's like $10 and you get 6. Amazon.
Zim or XIEM, they came out with a titanium trim tool and carving tools, and they're really inexpensive and they're really nice actually.
Cool.
They're
The bison
titanium
tools-
coated.
The bison tools, it takes a long time to get them.
Yep. He sells on Etsy. He doesn't sell from his own website anymore.
He took a break because he had so many back orders that he wasn't accepting new orders. You have to put in your name, you have to email him, and you are on a waiting list in order to try and order them. And I've been on the waiting list for a while and I have not heard back from him to actually place an order yet.
I'll find the guy, the potter that I'm thinking of that also sells tools very, very similar to his. The difference is the cutting edge is threaded. The end of that metal piece is threaded and it threads into the handle. So you could have one handle that you like and buy different heads and change the heads out. Or if they break it, you just need a head, not the whole thing.
Vera, on occasion, I've tried to put little feet on my hand-built bowls too, and I can't remember now. I kind of gave up because I had a hard time getting them on. So when they were flipped over, the bowl would sit flat. Now, maybe this is, I don't know how I missed this, but I noticed on yours when you were doing that, you had scored a line, which seems obvious looking at it. But I guess that's what you did. You scored a line so that there was no chance that the bowl would be a little off. You're on mute, Vera. Vera, you're on mute. Can you unmute yourself?
Let's see. I'll send her a text.
I think she's trying. She quit talking. Oh, well.
I think she froze.
Juan, did you put 3 feet on or 4?
3. Yeah, and I've made little forms like she has to push the clay in so they're all identical. Or I've used a coil around the foot and then just tried to, but I haven't been too satisfied with the results, but I liked what she had.
When I make my hand built planters, I put feet on them, and I have a push in mold that it's not a refined conical mold like Vera's. It's more hand built-ish looking. And after I put them on, and I use for the planters either 4, 5, or 6, depending on how big the planter is. But I put them on, let them get to just the right softness, and then I turn the pot over and level the pot because there's enough give in all the feet. So I level the pot with when the feet are still kind of soft. Of course, these have flat bottoms, so I guess you're talking about in the right in the right plane, right?
Yeah.
But at least that levels that, level them when their feet are still kind of soft.
I have a pot in the house, a bowl that I just love that I made years and years ago, but it's a little wonky.
That was part of the design.
Troy just listed in the chat another source. I think it's the one where you screw the heads in. Did everybody see
Yeah,
that?
Glyptic. Glyptic is the name. They make carving tools for sculpture, but they also work well for trimming. And they used to sell them through Pottery Supplies, but now I think they only sell them on their website, which I have the website in the chat.
What are
They
they
make all
made of?
different. They make all different sizes. They're a hard steel. I'm not sure. They have half round, and
Okay.
then they have the sharp ones. They're small sets. They have a small set that works really well for the miniatures, but they're a half round. They're sharper than the all round ones.
How are they for sgraffito?
That's kind of what they design them for. They have different shapes and different sizes. Some of them work well.
But they, I mean, I'm looking at the website. It almost looks like they're wires, but they're not.
They do have some that are just round wire, and they have
Oh, okay.
some that are, I don't know if I got the right link to the front. Yeah, to the front page. So they have the cutting loops, or probably the
Oh, I see.
cutting
Yeah, yeah.
loops are more the trimming
Yeah.
type.
Interesting.
And they have two ends, so you can get different heads and screw them the one shapes you like and do each end. At least some of the handles do.
Is it, do they screw it, or it looks like there's almost a pin that goes through them?
There's a Allen nut.
There is. Okay. That's what I'm thinking. Okay.
It looks like Vera can talk now. Do you want to answer?
Okay, yeah, finally I figured it out. This is amazing. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so what I do is, like, you know, I really do. I use everything with a toothbrush, which is very weird. So I have how you call it, vinegar, and I put my toothbrush in there and I screw it on my pot. I put it on my thing, and then I screw those little feet on the pot. That's what I do.
But do you mark it at all? Do you have any sort of mark on your pot about where the feet go?
Yeah, I have little circles. You know, if big pots, I have bigger circles, smaller circles, and I put 3 feet or 4 feet on it.
Do you angle them?
Yes, I do.
You do angle them. Okay.
Yeah.
So the question is, how do you not have a off center or off balance pot when you flip it back over?
Well, you know, I think it's just like how you call it. You know, you have a good eye for it, and you just do it, and then you mangle it.
But it looked like you had a score line too that you were following on your demonstration.
What?
In your demonstration, it looked like you had scored a line.
Yeah, yeah. I had this little circle, and then I scored around it, and I just put those 3 feet on it.
Yeah.
I'm very easy peasy. You know, I don't make a big deal of like everything what I do.
Yep.
I go with the flow.
All right.
I don't hear anything anymore. Okay.
Any more questions? All right. I want to thank Vera and Wynn for the time that they gave to make the video and also to join us tonight and be responsive to questions. So really appreciate
I think Wynn was very, very informative. It was very good.
And
Well,
what
and
I-
thank everybody who included links. I clicked on them, so I've saved them.
Cool. The other thing I'd like to do is I'd like to invite you all to, over the next month or two, think about feet and make some feet you're really proud of. Take some pictures of it. Tell us what you learned, and we'll post something in the next newsletter where you can add your feet and any lessons learned, and we'll either put them in a member connect file, add them to a meeting program, put them in the newsletter, somehow share them with the rest of the group. So this isn't a formal clay challenge, but sometimes when you set a goal with the group and you say, hey, yeah, to try, we can learn from each other. So I'll put it out there. Watch the next newsletter for more info on where to submit your lessons learned and photos.
I want to thank
You're good
Foz
for it.
too.
Yeah, me
Foz did the
too.
videos and she did the editing. So she and I recorded almost somewhere between an hour and a half and 2 hours of stuff. And she
Yeah.
edited it down to 40 some minutes. And there are some other pieces that are extensions of what was in there that we're going to add as a kind of an appendix or a bonus or a whatever when the main program gets put up.
Thank you, Voss. You did a great job.
Yeah.
It was really excellent.
Back to you, Stacy.
All right. So final words, anyone?
I was just, Sean just sent out an email regarding the clay order.
Excellent. So we can all read it. And if we have any questions, we can ask Sean.
Yeah, it tells about the discounts and that he's still waiting for Laguna.
And did he send it out?
Are happening as we speak. Oh, sorry.
He
Judy.
sent it, I think he sent it to anybody that ordered.
No, he sent it to Member Connect.
Oh, he did.
Yeah.
Thank you all.
All right, cool.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you, Vera.
It's adjourned.
Thanks,
Thank you,
Stacy.
Vera.
Thank you,
Night.
Foz. Well done.
Yeah, thank you.
And welcome to again to all the new members.
Yes, welcome.
Mm-hmm.
Thanks, everybody. It was really fun. Thanks.
Good. Welcome.
Yep, it's nice to talk to Potters about feet. And my son was in the kitchen laughing, and I go, you know, carpenters, they love their tools. Potters, they love their tools. It's just a thing.
I love it.
And here's to no feet. This one has no feet.
All right.
Good night. Okay.
All right.
Okay. Good night, all.
Night.